I think this is really important because I think our relationships play a massive role in how our bodies feel. Mm-hmm. And if we are not evaluating the impact that that's having, then that's something that needs to be visited. And those boundaries need to be put in place because you cannot allow the energy and the frequency and the emotions of somebody else just siphon you, just literally suck you dry. Like there's got to be, like you will never experience healing.
You won't. And think about too, like people out there probably thinking the opposite way. They're like, hey, I've given everything I got.
Yeah.
And this person's not doing what they're supposed to do. And you're so tired and so drained. You go, there is no way I have the energy to show love or forgiveness.
Yeah.
That would then turn me into a practitioner that goes, okay, I'm not telling you how to fix this relationship. What I am trying to ask you to do, since you've created an environment that the parasites could hold on to your body, is you need to do coffee enemas. You need to go and do things cleansing out of there. You need to take these herbals and such to help open up that organ and give some nutrients and give it some energy so that maybe your body could be more aware of the deeper relationship with that person. So it doesn't mean it makes you go hunky-dory like, this is the best person now. Not at all. It's about creating awareness. And so those are the things like we've talked about. Like, guys, I'll tell you my personal story. I had Lyme disease and strongyloides parasites so badly. And I was so numb that I would go to work and I would just work. And I don't even remember, I'm not kidding, part of my days with Lyme because I was just so numb. And I started getting colonics every week for 6 months. Every week. I got a gravity-fed system by my sweet friend, Cannon Lee. She used to watch me get
That's colonic. Talk about a relationship. The person that gives you a colonic every week.
Oh, you become so close to them because
it's a very vulnerable
so
experience.
Sweet, and you're very vulnerable.
Yeah.
And then she used to go. She knew she could. Whenever gravity-fed system, she holds the tube because they put a pipe up your tailbone to your tail, and then they start flushing out with warm water, and you can she could feel the tension rise. So she would feel my stomach, and she would start to go, and she'd start to feel things move, and she'd go, "Oh, here's a lot of anger right here." And she'd go, "Wow, hold on to your brain." She goes, "Oh, here comes those demons. Here it comes." And I'm telling you guys, and for the first 3 months, I started to notice that I actually started to feel myself again. Like I was like, oh, okay. I stopped having flu symptoms every time I got a colonic. And what it did do for me was this. I got about 6 months, I didn't have to do as much anymore. But it made me realize how emotionally distraught I really was. I was so numb to it. I was so tired and fatigued with everything. And I was like, I don't even know how to relate to anybody. I just don't, my family, nothing. And it's like, I didn't have the energy. I had to have an outside source to bring some energy back into my system. So we talk about, enemas, coffee enemas. People they do castor oil packs, and those are all great things because they help. And I'm going to tell you a few herbs here in a bit, but really I learned that it was like, I can't believe how aware I got from it. Isn't that crazy? Because, we both had experience with, good enemas. Yeah.
I love a good enema. To me, it's just like the only place I can get away.
Trenton's going to laugh at that one. I love me a good enema.
It was funny because we had somebody over the other day who's like friends. This was like 2 days ago. And the enema bucket was like, I had just been cleaning it and I had like cleaned out all the hosing and all this stuff. And it's like sitting there next to our pots and pans. And like my daughter's little friend's like, what's that? And Sadie's like, oh, that's the enema. And her parents were standing right there. And I wish that we had a camera in the house just to like see the expression on their face. It was like, is that really what I think it is? And I'm like, yes. And I just left it at that. I was like, it's definitely an enema bucket.
Have you felt, we talked about, you felt that it's really brought more like vibrance to your body and more health?
100%. I'm doing wheatgrass enemas now. Here's the thing. And you made a great point about this. Like sometimes you really do need to bring in some support. And I think that a lot of times, even in functional medicine, we can take the remedy, what we think is, hey, this has been around forever. It works. It's natural. It's going to support your body. But we think that is the fix. It's like, well, I just wasn't doing the enemas and the castor oil and the essential oils. And like you go on and on and on. None of these things are bad. But a lot of times, and I'm so guilty of this, I look at my body, my health, the way that I'm feeling every day. And I think, oh gosh, well, I wish I had more energy. I wish, I don't understand. I feel like I'm metabolically like kind of sluggish. I feel X, Y, and Z. And I immediately start thinking, what is it that I'm missing? Like, what supplement am I missing? What therapy am I missing? Do I need to be in the sauna more? Do I need to be getting more sunshine? Do I need to be wearing my blue blockers? Do I need to be, it's like, I start creating this whole algorithm of like what I need to do so that my body feels a little bit better without ever asking the question of like, what is going on inside, like between my ears in my brain? Like, am I hurting? Like, is my heart hurting? Am I thinking about things that are not for me? That God's like, that's not for you to pick up. Like, that is not yours right now. But in my mind, I'm so hell bent on getting to that one thing that I'm wasting all this energy and time that is draining me at the end. I'm not getting anywhere. So and I'm like, well, my body's just not responding. Like, I just don't feel good in the gym. And so maybe I need to take, more whatever. It's like, there's so much disconnect there. That's why I really like this conversation, because I think it's so revealing that if we are not doing the inner work, if we're not really addressing the mind, the body, and the spirit, we are always going to be chasing the symptoms, and we're always going to deal with disease. I
love the way you put the avenue of where you say, like, when you don't pay attention to yourself, or you think I have to do something else because you blame yourself a lot of times. And I always try to remind patients, I always talk to them about rest, because they get to a point, like, let's say, guys, we hear, even on Instagram or Facebook, or we hear a whole myriad of information about this protocol is what you need, because they call it the push and the catch. Kill off the infections, and then you need these binders, which I'm not putting them down. They work. I'm saying that you need to kill it off, then you need to catch the toxin, and then you need to take this for this lining of your gut, then you have to do this. And I'm not putting those down. I've done that with my patients. I get that. But then they take all of these things, and the first thing that a patient does when they stop, or we can have some bloating comes back, or they feel like they have a little more constipation, is they'll go, oh man, what else can I take? And my first rule is less is more. You're not going to increase. Why? Your body's telling you to rest. Something in your body's telling you have to slow down and you need to rest. So I even tell people, they'll even feel better when they stop taking stuff for 3 days. Why? Because their body needed the rest. They needed to build up the energy, and they needed to become aware of something. Yeah. So then I say, this is the time to look in, meditate, pray, take a rest. Maybe cut your supplements in half. You don't have to go changing everything. You don't have to get something brand new. In fact, the one thing I've learned over the years, Court, is that I used to think I was smart, and I give all these different supplements. And I use a system where I try to find priority systems. And my mentor is Dr. Dowdy, and I see he's a mad genius, and I love him to death, because he would tell me, he said, you know what, Chris? He says, if you have to really go over 3 to 6 supplements on a person, he goes, you got to be careful if they're very energy drained. So I find that whenever you get to that point where you're like, what else do I got to do? I was like, cut it down, and your body will utilize small amounts of things in a great way, but you have to have rest. So when I see a lot of protocols, and we can talk about this, like you have tinctures and different herbals that will actually kill off things. But if you have a whole bunch of them, you're giving your body a ton of information. Wow. Like, I got to kill all these things. Like, it's going after things. I get it. But what if your liver or your colon is so bombarded with emotional energy, it can't take all the toxins you just released?
Oh, man.
Like, what are you going to do? Like, it's like you're in a relationship. It's like, this person controls me all day, and my colon's shut down, and you have that slag, and then you're like, oh, I got to take more supplements. I'm like, no, you may need to address the control issue that's happening on your body, and that herbal's pushing too much out of you right now. Yeah. So back off the herbal and address your control issues.
Yeah. Wow. I like that you said that you referred to the herbals as communication. Like, that's a lot of information.
Totally.
Because sometimes I just think we're like, oh, well, that's, we're just putting wormwood or neem or like any of these antimicrobials. And it's like, well, yeah, those are just the little fighters that go in there and just start busting stuff up. No, like, your body has to metabolize all the things that you take in. Yep. So it's a lot more than just like, I think sometimes in my simplistic mindset, I think of like this scrubbing bubbles thing. And it's like, well, I'm just going to ingest this one thing, and it's going to go in there, and it's like the little scrubbing bubbles, and it's just going to like clean it all out. I don't think that like hey, your liver has to metabolize all of these things. Like there are so many sequences of events and all of these loops of energy and everything else that has to happen in order for even one supplement, to be metabolized and carried out through the body. Like it's not just like it goes down a tube and just cleans stuff out and that's it.
No, wait. Like, cause I always think that whenever somebody takes a tincture or a homeopathic and you say take one drop and they're like, one drop. No, the longer like a tincture sits, they say the stronger it gets. But what one of my mentors said, he said, remember that it's energetic communication. They all hold frequency. What happens when I think about the best dessert I've ever had? Or let's say I just barely smell it, or I get a small taste on my tongue of something. What does it do to your whole nervous system? Wakes it up. And you think like, you mean that little morsel of information or a smell or a taste could actually make the whole system vibrate at a frequency that's amplified much more than the little piece? Yes. So if you had a little bit of neem, like some people are when they have parasites, I'll say take some neem. And I'll say take one pill 3 times a week. And they think there's no way that's going to help me. I'm like, you don't realize it's energetic information. And your liver or whatever can't take 10 of these. It can only take 1. But the awareness part of it's like, then I go into the emotional aspect of it and I'm like, okay, well, you got this, this, and this. You need to take care of this part of it and then go get some emotional clearing. And then when they do it, you would not believe how much more stuff they can take because they have the energy now to metabolize. Wow. So it's the journey. It's like literally after a while, a person can go up to 8 to 10, I'm serious, supplements. And you think, oh, I don't take all these. I'm like, no, good fish oils, good B vitamins, good D vitamins. But when you have parasites, you can't absorb them because your body is like so down with communication.